We're joined now in the main interview room by Notre Dame head coach Mike Bray, student athletes Demetrius Jackson, Pat Connaughton, and Jaron Grant. We'll ask Coach Bray to make an opening statement, please, and then we'll take questions first for the student athletes. Coach.
It was reminiscent of a lot of games we've been in, second halves. It kind of reminded me of the North Carolina game in the ACC championship where they take the lead, we call timeout, not a lot of drama, not a lot of strategy, and we come out of that with a great will, continue to defend, and then we got into one of our offensive rhythms that nobody else in the country can do. And so we did a great job defending them. We did a great job not letting them get going from the three-point line, 3 for 18. And that's been the story of our 6 wins in the postseason. We've really defended the arc well.
Questions first for the student athletes from Notre Dame. There's one in the center section just to the right of the aisle. Student athletes only, please.
For Demetrius, I'm Tom Davis, Fort Wayne News Sentinel. Demetrius, you're getting better every single day that you're at Notre Dame. Tonight's probably the high point of your time at Notre Dame. What was a low point in your development, maybe where you were really down and you were questioning things?
Just when I wasn't handling my business on and off the court. I know so it was a great lesson for me to learn. Definitely learn from it and move forward from it.
Continuing with questions for the Fighting Irish student athletes, raise your hand. Center of the center. Tim.
For Jerry, excuse me, talk about your mentality at halftime and how you played different in the second half, and what was the difference?
Just figuring out how they were playing me. It took longer than I would have liked, but once I figured out how they were guarding the ball screens and denying me up top, we just got to get into a rhythm and play our game.
We have another question in the left section, just to the left of the aisle.
This is for Pat. When you guys go on those offensive outbursts like that, what do you think sparks it, and what's the feeling like on the court as that's happening, as you hit a couple of shots and get going?
Our defense definitely sparks it. When we were in that timeout, like Coach said, it wasn't about strategy. It was we talked about defense, about getting stops and getting out and running, and that's the fun way to play, and that's the way that we're at our best when it on both ends of the floor. So with defense, that definitely sparks it, and then going through it, it's like it's something that you just feed off of. It's like blood in the water. You feel it, and you want to just keep getting those stops so you can keep running. It's something that you can't get enough of. So it's something that we pride ourselves on. It's something that when we're in that moment, we feel like we can run with anybody.
In the left-hand section in the second row, there's 2 questions. Greg, you can go first if you'd like.
Greg Logan of Newsday for Demetrius. I know what you're saying about defense, but it seemed to me like you're one of the best passing teams in the country, and Wichita State talked about all the passes that you made for easy layups. How critical was that, especially after they got the 1-point lead?
Yeah, we really do a great job of sharing the ball, finding a great shot every possession, and guys step up and make huge shots. It's a really fun way to play when we play the game that way, and so we want to continue doing that and keep getting better.
Continuing with questions for the Notre Dame student athletes. If you have a question, please raise your hand. There's one in the left section, left of the aisle.
This is for Jaron. Jaron, when you guys are on a run like that, can you sense that it's affecting the opponent and that you're kind of maybe crushing their will, so to speak?
Yeah, a little bit. When we get on those runs, we're just playing. I feel like when other teams try to counter us, they play a little quicker. They kind of get out of their rhythm, and they try to counter our offensive attack, which is almost impossible to do. So we definitely can feel that, and we just like to keep going and keep playing.
Continuing with questions for the student athletes, if there are any. Any further questions for the Notre Dame student athletes? There's one in the center section, left of the aisle.
Hi. Pat, there was that stretch when it was 67-56. You hit a 3 from the corner, and then Vastoria came back with a 3. And suddenly the lead went from 11 to 17. How important was that stretch in the outcome of the game?
Extremely important. We always talk about not being satisfied, whether it's with a win or whether it's with just a possession in general. And for us to not be satisfied with an 11-point lead because there's so much time left, and they're a fabulous team and they make runs and they can score in bunches, just like us. We want to make sure that we continue to play our game, And when you have an open shot, with these two guys to my left and right, they're the best at getting you open shots, and you just got to step up and knock them down.
Any further questions for the Notre Dame student athletes? We'd like to thank Demetrius, Pat, and Jaron for joining us in the main interview room. They're going to head back toward the locker room, which may still be open at this time, but Notre Dame Sports Information Director Bernie Caffarelli tells us that the student athletes will be available for an extended period outside the locker room. First question for Coach Bray. There's one in the center section to the right of the aisle.
Coach, in regards to Demetrius, go back to September 2012 when he verbally committed to your program. Do you remember that day and what it was like?
Yeah, because his recruiting was drama. We were kind of waiting, and it was an important get for us. A local kid, being able to keep him home. It didn't go as quickly as I would have liked, but at the end of the day, I think the support of his families and being close to us, and I think he saw how guards have a lot of freedom to do their thing. Watching Jaron when he was in high school, that certainly was key for our program.
When did you first discover Demetrius?
Ninth grade. Anthony Solomon got me to watch him in ninth grade, and I remember telling Anthony the next day in the office, he's a defensive halfback playing basketball right now. And to see how far he's come with his basketball skill level, his shooting, he really couldn't shoot it as a 9th, 10th grader. But where he's really improved is his decision-making with the ball. And I think that's a lot him. I think it's also a lot playing with Jaron Grant. When you watch over and over, day to day, the decisions Jaron makes with the ball, I think he's a great teacher in the flow of things.
The next question is toward the front on the right side. Please remember your name and media outlet before your question.
David Glazier from the News Herald. Coach, just a wee bit of history here. It's not since '78 has the Notre Dame team gotten this far. That team got to the national semis. Talk about, I don't want to say securing a place in history. Maybe that's too dramatic, but getting deeper into the tournament than any team in 37 years.
Well, again, it's huge. I think the biggest thing was I was thinking all day today, I just don't want it to end for this particular team because this group has been so energizing and so fun to be around. With the two seniors here setting the tone, I was thinking, if we don't, I don't get to interact with them on Friday if we don't get it done. So it was, I've thought about it more in that context. I'm sure whenever it ends, I'll be able to look back, and it's been an amazing season for us. And when you add an ACC championship and who we went through on Tobacco Road, it makes it, I don't know if we've had a more special season in the history of our basketball program. But, God, I love that I get to go to practice tomorrow with this group again.
Toward the back of the center section on the right side.
The 75% second half, you guys have done that like 4 times this season. I'm
Yeah.
curious, having seen this so many times, when you go 4 for 20 to end the first half, do you know something's coming in the second half?
I think the law of averages usually does play out for us. And, Chris, you brought up a good point. Sometimes we can defend, but when we get on those offensive rhythms, it does break a spirit a little bit. And, we really can pass it. I thought what was a key was Demetrius got going, and he got us going, and then we came back around to Jaron in the ball screen, and they were a little tired. They couldn't quite guard the ball screen, and we had some great rolls from Bonzi Colson and Zach just right down the middle. Now you got to make a decision. Are you going to hug the shooters? Are you going to help? You get put in a catch-22, and if you have a good passing team like we do, we usually find enough good looks.
We'll move all the way to the left side, second row.
Mike Monaco with The Observer. Mike, you said, when they took the lead, they come down, you watched like 7 seconds of the possession and then took the timeout. What did you want to see change offensively?
I thought about it, and I said, maybe we play this out, and then I kind of had a flashback. Whenever we've been whenever people have made a run on us and taken a lead, I've kind of called the timeout. I haven't even gone in first of all, the timeouts are so long. I haven't even gone in the huddles. They figure things out. They talk amongst themselves, and by the time I get in there, they have some pretty good suggestions, and I kind of just used it as a reference point in the North Carolina game in the ACC. I said, fellas, we've been here before. Little did I know it would be another lightning strike. It was a flat-out lightning strike, just like in Greensboro.
Did you have a follow-up? No. Okay. Next one's all the way in the back, all the way to the left.
Allison Hayes, Leader Publications. Coach, do you remember how old would you have been the last time Notre Dame would have advanced this far?
I was a senior in high school, and certainly remember, Digger's teams and that 78 team that went to a Final Four. Tracy Jackson was a D.C. guy. And again, my D.C. roots, DeMatha. There's been a lot of good Washington, D.C. guys that have come out and played at Notre Dame. So I certainly remember it. I was a total basketball hoops junkie as a senior at DeMatha then.
Following up in the back left.
Me again. And then coming into this tournament, I know there's always pressure. When is Notre Dame going to make it past the first round? When are they going to make it to the Sweet 16? Now that you've done that, when you guys were coming into this game, did you feel some of that pressure sort of lifted, and especially as you would head into the Elite Eight?
It's funny. I've never really felt any pressure that way, maybe because I'm older in my career. I'm extremely secure with who I am in this profession and the program we run. I certainly didn't want to put any of past things on this group, so we really talked about this particular group. I do think we played in Pittsburgh a little differently than we played in Greensboro, a little tight, and as much as the loosest coach in America tried to loosen them up, we were a little tight. I thought tonight we were ready to roll, and we got out of the gate like we did in Greensboro to start the game, and then certainly the second half was really good.
Sorry, Coach. Left-hand section, left of the aisle.
Yeah.
Chris Hines, Chicago Tribune. When you guys go on those runs, can you sense it on the sideline, and what are one or two qualities that define those runs?
One
or
of the
get them
biggest
going?
qualities is do not overcoach your team when they're rolling. Don't call out too many. Let them figure it out. This nucleus really knows how to play on the offensive end. And really, the three that was the dagger, Pat and Jaron, just got to that ball screen in front of our bench. They saw it develop. And, that's one of the things we've done with our offenses through the years. Guys have a freedom to play, and they're able to be instinctive and be in an attack frame of mind. Demetrius was in an attack frame of mind. So, we can get into those flows at any time. And then this group is cruel. And I love it. It's a great trait. They're really cruel competitors. When they feel a little blood in the water, as Pat said at one of the timeouts, they go for it again. And I think that's why they're special and playing for a regional championship on Saturday.
Center section, right in the center. Tim?
Coach Tim Warsinski from the Cleveland Plain Dealer, you're like 19-0 when you score 80 points. Your thoughts on trying to get that kind of production against a West Virginia or a Kentucky?
Well, you're talking about two different preparations. I told our guys if we play West Virginia, it's a little bit Louisville-like. We just played, and we won at Louisville, and they pressed us the whole game. And we were really good against pressure to win on the road. Kentucky is a whole different bag of tricks with their size. But, either team, we can spread people out. Our spacing has really been good. And when you have a guy like Connaughton as your second big guy, it's a very, very difficult matchup. And we're able to play that way because then he can go and get 10, 11 rebounds from the undersized 4 spot. So that could be a challenge on Saturday, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
We have time for one or two more final questions. There's one to the right of the aisle.
Tom Davis, Fort Wayne News Sentinel. Coach, you just called yourself the loosest coach in America. You don't wear a tie. You're listening to Jaron against Northeastern on how to use Zach and all.
Yeah.
Is that your personality, or were you like that when you were at Delaware?
I think I've always kind of been like, I want our guys to enjoy the situation. I've always wanted them to enjoy it. I never wanted them walking over to the arena at 3 o'clock going, I got to deal with this guy for 2 hours. I've been able to balance being firm and getting on them and getting a little psycho sometimes. I do that privately. I don't do that publicly. But I want them to enjoy it, and I want us to smile, and I want us to be loose. Now, when I'm doing that, I'm tight inside, believe me. But I can really play that off. I've been doing it for a long time now.
Is there a final question for Coach Bray?
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.